Tuesday, February 19th, 2026, and I'm calling to order our special meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we call roll, please?
Here.
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 All right, adoption of the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? So we will now move on to our discussion items. 5.1, review and discuss updates to the city strategic plan, governance handbook, and city council handbook. Mr. Warren.
Good evening, Mayor Gottberg, members of the council. So tonight we're going to review those items. It's been about a year since we took a look at them. And actually I want to jump right into the strategic plan. The first being our vision statement. And you may recall back in January of last year, we made one minor change, and that was to address our high quality of life. And there was other ways of saying it, but in the red, I've added it there, so let's see if you like it. It says, we are a welcoming, active, and business-friendly rural foothill community with a high quality of life built on California's rich gold rush history. A little more verbiage. Is that okay, or?
I think we're missing some commas.
High standard?
I mean, I don't put commas in.
What do you, I'm just trying to help you, John.
I think we had a lot of discussion and we had like lots of words, and this was like a means by which to make it a sentence that would work.
The longer you make it, the more wordy it gets, so, but. Any suggestions? No?
You want to
Good?
just shoot it? Yeah.
Okay. So after community and after quality of life,
Yeah. Yes.
we will make that change. Thank you. All right, moving on to our mission statement. No changes recommended here. So the city of Placerville shall provide a safe, efficient, effective, responsive government for the well-being of its residents, businesses, and visitors. Okay. Keep it? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our city values. So we have 5 here. The first one is sense of community. Placerville is a working community rich in culture and diversity with great parks and trails and safe, well-kept neighborhoods. Leadership. The city of Placerville is a nonpartisan, fiscally responsible municipality and values honest, ethical leadership. Service and quality. Dedicated to providing well-planned infrastructure and high-quality services to meet current and future needs. Business friendly. Ardent supporter of local commerce and diverse business culture. Economic prosperity. Seeking economic development that provides good paying jobs and a range of housing options and community amenities that meet the needs of our citizens and visitors. Is there a desire to make any changes there, or you good?
No, I'm good with it now that we changed it. So this version I like.
Okay.
This version I like.
And then moving on to our strategic plan. So I just have the major categories listed here on the PowerPoint. I have infrastructure, fiscal stability, sustainability, health and public safety, maintain and improve quality of life, economic development, and good governance. So in the packet, you have the more granular version of this. So under infrastructure, based on your comments last year and the suggestions by staff, under item 3, which is strategy, updated technology, it's on page 2. We added adopt an artificial intelligence policy. We currently do not have a policy, however, we are using AI. And I think in order to protect the city and our employees, it's important that we bring a policy to you. So we plan on doing that this year. The second one is item 4, strategy update and maintain city-owned infrastructure. Identify, repair, or replace existing infrastructure, water, sewer, drainage, roadway network, and wastewater treatment as needed to continue. And then we added in red, to provide safe and reliable essential infrastructure and city-owned utilities to the community. So our city engineer suggested that change. And then down on F, let's see. We made a couple changes. So identify and secure funding for the construction phase of the Trip to Green CIP project to address circulation, safety, congestion issues on Highway 50 that affect local roads. Okay. And then number 7, let's see. There was a desire to identify an inventory of our parks and infrastructure and deferred maintenance. And that was actually last year that came up. So we added those comments to item 7 on page 3. Under, yeah.
I think, wouldn't these go under number 6 instead of number 7? I think, because number 6 is the one that developed a plan to address deferred maintenance on our parks and trails. So I think that's supposed to go under number 6 instead of number 7.
Yes, good catch. So
that would be E, F, G, and H under number 6 instead of current location.
Sorry about that. We'll make that change. Okay. I just wanted to check to see if there was any comments as well. Yeah, under strategy 2, excuse me, we talked about broadband. That project, of course, is underway. The only part we haven't really addressed is the non-serve, so businesses that didn't qualify for the $20 million grant, and that's something we're going to, work on in the coming year. The corporation yard under item 5, that's, we're going out to bid for a project, so that's being addressed. Jumping down to fiscal sustainability, we have, of course, adoption of the budget, which we do every year. Master fee schedule under strategy 2, that's underway. We've adjusted our building fees, our encroachment permit fees, water sewer rates. We're currently in the study. Hope to bring that back in April. And I think that's it on that one. Any changes so far to any of the objectives? Okay. Moving on to health and public safety. Let's see here. Wildfire protection and disaster preparedness, the South Placerville project, that's going to be a big win for the city. Over $7 million in ongoing support from CAL FIRE. That'll address that. I'm on page 5, solid waste. We're going to bring forward a new franchise agreement with Eldorado Disposal. We're hoping March 10th to have that for you. So that'll consolidate all the addendums to the agreement and bring us up to speed as far as current law and regulation. Maintain and improve quality of life. No comments there unless staff has any comments. Economic development. No suggested changes there, unless the council has any suggested changes or staff. And then under good governance, we added enhance marketing of vacant positions under strategy 4. And what we mean by that is we're looking at doing more social media exposure with our positions. I noticed a lot of different agencies use very colorful ads, just simple language, salary, position, when it's going to run out. So simple things like that we can do. Any other suggestions? Does staff have any suggestions or hearing none? They did review this, so they've already commented on it. But
You want to make any public comments on this? Suggestions for us?
So you also have the governance handbook and city council handbook. It's really just for information. I don't know if you've had a chance to review those, but if you have any suggestions to revise those. Oh, sorry about that. That's the least we could do.
Spelling error. Spelling error.
We will correct that.
Her name is spelled wrong. Her name is spelled wrong.
Okay.
I did have a couple, just a quick suggestions.
Sure.
So, obviously there's been a lot of changes recently in regards to the Brown Act. And so I think that we should ask our city attorney to make some changes or make some recommendations for changes, specifically talking about, especially in the council handbook, about mandating receiving a copy of the Brown Act within a certain amount of time of being elected. Also, there's been some changes as far as online comments and meeting participation, remote meeting participation, just cause and such. So I think we should ask her to review the sections for the Brown Act in both the governance handbook and the council handbook to make updates as necessary.
Good suggestion. We'll do that.
And there's also, one more thing was that the conflict of interest, I know there's, the numbers in there I think are outdated. There's been some inflation adjustment on the level at which a conflict of interest occurs, and so we should have her look at that number also and see if that's still accurate.
Will do.
Any other suggestions or discussions on our strategic plan and handbooks? All right. We can go ahead then and move on to, go ahead.
No one will hear me otherwise. Whoa. What is the appropriate venue to talk about, like God, this is gonna sound terrible. I want to talk about the Peak. I was a charter member of the Peak actually, and I've seen some of the stuff come through. I think Peak is it's either underutilized or unnecessary, and I'm not quite sure what. And it's a no hit to our one sole Peak member here right now, but it does take staff time, and I look at their agendas and I look at what they're doing, and I'm just, to give everybody a little history is Peak was created because we were supposed to have what are those things that they got rid of? Redevelopment agency. And we were gonna have a redevelopment agency, and that almost coincided almost perfectly from what they gotten rid of. And so we had a lot of people that were sort of interested in that sort of thing, and kind of all dressed up with no place to go. And the county had an economic advisory committee, so we kind of thought, well, why don't we do that? And I think at the beginning it was okay. But I'm starting to wonder now, what is their value? It takes up staff time. Staff time, I don't know how many of you get involved with Peak. I know you do. And you do.
I do.
And it takes up time. And it's not to say that we can't think about getting that input, but is that the best way to do it? You know, and are they really being utilized well? And nothing really prompted this, except for the fact that I've seen some stuff going back and forth through the Peak recently, and I kind of wondering, well, what are they, you know, what's going on? So I'm not expecting that we should answer that question right this minute, but when do we think about those kinds of things? Like now? I guess it's a
Yeah, I
strategic
mean,
planning
in
thing.
our city council handbook, we have appointment of advisory bodies as
Okay.
an item in there.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, I sort of saw that in there and I'm kind of going, oh, you know, what's what? And it might be a longer discussion than what we want to have right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just brought it up, because I was thinking about it. So anyway, I just want to kind of put that out there, because I think the having those people together is occasionally is valuable because they represent their business interests, they represent parts of the town. I mean, I was on it and there was a lot of good discussion. I'm just not sure what they do anymore. And this is not a dig at them, and certainly not at staff or anybody. And you could say, no, you're wrong. They're valuable and they should go ahead, and I'm fine with that too. But of all the things this city, like we used to have a historical committee, and we couldn't get anybody to be on it. That was one of the problems. But then it was kind of like, well, they're doing this thing, but then there was kind of running into what the planning commission was supposed to do, and there was this, I don't want to say friction, because that's probably overstating it. And so we made a decision to kind of suspend it, because we said, well, the planning commission does all this stuff, and we can't even get people to be on it, you know. So we have been down this road before. And I think Peak might be something that we might want to think about. I guess that's what I need. Now it's said. Okay, I'm done.
I guess I would wonder on that, does it need to be a staffed committee? I mean, is there a way to make it where it doesn't take up staff time if those people really want to get together and do whatever it is they're doing? But I've been to I haven't been to a lot, but I've been to a couple of meetings, and a lot of times, oh, I'm too busy to do this, oh, I didn't get to do that. So it's worth reviewing, or maybe their scope is getting too broad and it needs to be more focused. I don't know.
Or maybe we should ask them what they think they might be useful in doing. Because, were you on Peak? No, okay.
I think I haven't been on.
Okay, I was just.
But I mean, there are some things that have come to us that have gone through Peak.
Yeah,
I think of, but like, I don't know, the weddings at the bell tower is an example, right? Of some, like, so some of those things, it's probably worth having some committee looking at it. And I don't know what we did with the events thing, so I'm not gonna state that we.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think some of those things, like, maybe it's worth having a group of business owners taking a look at them and giving comments before.
Yeah, you know, because I think the idea behind Peak was always that it would increase economic activity. I mean, it's in the title, and so I'm wondering if that even happens. You know, and I don't know the answer to that. I know it didn't happen much when I was on there, and I was on there a long time. And some of the things I think that they were tasked with doing, like doing the interviews and stuff, I'm not even sure they do them as frequently. You know, the new business, like you're supposed to go and talk to them. Yeah, how frequently that's happening anymore. And yeah, I don't know, you know, anyway.
Well, thank you for your comments, and staff has some concerns about, you know, the committee, not the committee members, but just the committee, its purpose and everything. We're in the midst of reviewing the economic strategy, which was adopted in 2022. We started reviewing that, last week, I think, and we ended up not having a quorum toward the end, so we couldn't do anything with it. But what I would suggest is perhaps the council consider directing staff to develop a new economic strategy, bring that to the council, and see if that's something you would be interested in. And if not, then bring it back.
Yeah.
That would be another.
Peak, and maybe ask them what highest and best use.
You know? Because like I said, when I was on there, there were a lot of real smart people in there, but it just seemed like there was nothing to kind of grab onto. Yeah.
There's
Anyway.
been some big initiatives that have come out of Peak. I mean, you have the hotel incentive program,
Yeah.
broadband.
Yeah.
So I think refocusing on
Maybe,
things
yeah.
that raises all boats
Yeah.
would help.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they've looked at like annexation.
Annexation is another
Oh
one.
yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. For a while now.
I'm just saying, like, where, I mean, maybe we just need more direction as to what we want them to
Yeah. And that could very well be. It could. The
And maybe we
challenge
want
may
some,
be ours and not theirs.
yeah, what we want them,
Yeah.
and maybe we want some suggestions from them of what do they think they should be doing, and then, you know.
And then how? How do they want to do it? Is the other thing. Anyway.
Would the council like staff to bring a report for you to consider? Kind of an update of where Peak's at and, no, okay.
When's the next meeting for Peak?
It's in March,
In March?
yeah, second Thursday.
Right.
Can we put an agenda item on their meeting for them to talk about what they want to
you
do,
know,
what
just-
their, like, what their plan is, what their strategic plan is in their minds.
That's kind of where I was going with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
is-
yeah.
That
maybe
takes it out of
that's it.
staff's kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we can do that and say, listen, do you guys, what are you doing? Do you like it? I mean, should you be doing something else? Would you,
Well,
you know?
I would want to see them justify the staff time they're getting, right?
Maybe that's-
In the end, we dedicate staff time to that, and I mean, it's great that people love to sit down and talk about staff and talk about things, but
Yeah.
what is being done that justifies spending that staff time on that group is what I would want to know from that
Yeah,
conversation.
and I would definitely like to have them have that conversation first.
Right.
And then maybe bring back something from.
Report.
Yeah, and not necessarily justifying their existence, but just, just giving us some information about what they think's been effective, what's not effective, and just informational purposes, so we have a better perspective of, from that. Yeah.
Do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, any other discussions related to our strategic plan and handbooks and,
One other thing, just, we plan on bringing any revisions to the strategic plan to you at a regular meeting, so then you can adopt it. So we'll do that in the next month or so.
okay, so we will move on then to item number 6, project funding discussion. So review and discuss options for funding the proposed public safety building. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mayor Gottberg, members of the council. So we've been talking about a public safety building for some time, and I know Joe wonders if we're ever going to upgrade his facility, but so this presentation is called Public Safety Building, Where Do We Go From Here? So we have a picture of the facility there up top, and then we have Station 25. We'd like to talk about the background, space needs, funding options, and next steps. So you may recall, back in the early 2000s, the city began looking at potential expansion ideas for the police department. We did purchase a parcel to the west of the facility back in 2018. That was the Dick Rude property. And we worked with, there was a thought of doing a joint facility starting, I think, in around 2020. We completed the study in 2022. And we also, the fire district received $1 million state grant for site acquisition, which they're willing to share with us for a joint facility or something else. And then you may recall that the merger between El Dorado County Fire Protection District and Diamond Springs Fire District is near completion. So when the study was done, it actually contemplated entire space needed for the fire department. Now that they're merging with Diamond Springs, our understanding is their administrative space, there's adequate administrative space in Diamond Springs, so that's no longer an issue. However, Station 25 is still, there's a huge need there. It's an old facility, they're maxed out space-wise. There's some structural issues. So we did explore potential sites, both for a joint facility the Oding property and some other properties that would fit both sites or facilities, and standalone sites like the Armory. So for Station 25. So there's a variety of options we can look at. Based on the study, the combined facility needs were just over 51,000 square feet. If we look at just the fire facility, and this included admin, so I'm not sure exactly how much would be just for Station 25, but for both admin and fire station, it was 23,000 square feet and some change there. And then police department, it was measured at 31,000 square feet. I think currently we have just over 7,000. Is that right, Chief? The fire bay, yeah. Okay. And then funding, and this is in 2022 dollars, combined facility between 43 million and 67 million. Fire facility only would be between 23 million and 29 million. And then police department only 28 to 39 million, assuming those square footages. And then looking at funding options, the money, we don't have the money to actually do this other than the $1 million, but it's clear that we would have to do some form of long-term financing. Grants, I'm told that there's some grants out there. So far, we haven't found any. So we're still looking. We're looking for that money tree. But to give you an idea of what the budget impact would be for a $39 million issue, debt issue of 40 years and 5%, which we possibly could get a lower interest rate than that, it would be about 2.3 million per year. So, and then when you look at new revenue sources, grants, sales tax, new TOT tax, we currently charge 10%. A 1 percentage point would get you approximately $23,000. For example, a utility user tax, that would be a tax on your cell phone bill, for example. Annexation, that's something we could do, grow the pie. We've talked about Smith Flat, possibly other areas, but that would take time. It's not something that's going to happen right away. Or a property tax assessment. Of all of these, staff's recommendation would be to pursue a sales tax measure because our daytime population, is about 11,000, or our normal population is about 11,000, but our daytime is around 20 to 30. So we're leveraging outside folks paying into the sales tax to help with that. So really, it's we need to continue conversations with El Dorado County Fire, determine a facility format. Do we want to do a joint facility or a standalone facility for Station 25 in the police department? Determine site selections or selection, purchase some property, and then determine future funding sources. So with that, I just open it up for conversation to the council. And of course, Chief Wren, any comments and suggestions from you?
I guess I'll start. So we have upcoming sales tax proposition that is supposed to be partially funding local fire districts. I haven't seen a whole lot of information. I'm not sure it's available yet as to what their plans are. Do we have any information about exactly what they're planning on doing with that sales tax revenue for the fire departments? Have they made any statements about that?
I have not heard what uses that funding can be used for. I believe El Dorado County Fire Protection District is going to get about 20% of the fire portion of that tax if it was to pass. They're currently collecting signatures. It is an initiative, a citizen-led initiative, so it would require 50+1. The tax itself is 0.375%. And I think the earliest it would kick in would be April of 2027.
In that vein, obviously, I would say that we're not going to want to talk about any further sales tax initiatives until we get past the one that's kind of already going through the process and see how the effects that one has on fire funding for construction and such. So just a
Excellent point.
There's been some chatter on the Facebook around that, and Well, Bill Roby's just like fragging it big time. I, yeah, I don't know anything about it. Well, I know this much, and that's what has been kind of dribbled out. But my guess is there's not going to be a lot of. I mean, they have operational issues all over the county when it comes to fire and ambulance, and so my gut says is that most of that's going to probably go into some sort of operational. They got dark firehouses that presumably need to be lit up again. So I don't think there'd be a lot of money for capital. This is a tough one because I don't think the city can afford another $30 million of debt. I mean, we struggle under the debt for the sewage treatment plant, and that's its own enterprise fund. I mean, it actually funds itself, and that's a big burden. And so I'm not sure about creating more debt for the city, whether it would not go over well, and yet we have this problem. And you know, my gut tells me that we need to probably repurpose some existing infrastructure, find something that we can get. The armory is obviously the one, but that's more oriented for the fire department right now, although I'm sure we could probably, there's a bunch of crummy old buildings over there. We could probably put some policemen in them. We'd fix them up, maybe some paint, nice roof. But yeah, I don't want to lead with revenue though, because that's like, we kind of need to decide what we want to do. Do we want to do a joint thing? I think that's getting too expensive. I don't think that's not my personal feeling. I think it's getting too expensive to even contemplate. I think that if we act separately on and then boy, not to be too rude about it, the fire district is a separate district. They have their own board, they have their own revenue sources, they have their own things, they have their stuff. Now we're joined in this thing with this $1 million, and I understand that. And I'm not suggesting that we abandon the fire department, but on the other hand, we run a police department, not a fire department. And I think we need to focus more on that and figuring out a good way to get that thing taken care of. Because the situation over there, as I'm not preaching to the choir, is unacceptable. And so we should probably start looking at what are existing resources in the city, what can be gotten. Yes, we need, unlike the fire department, correct me, but they have to park big giant vehicles and make big giant buildings. We don't struggle with that. We could, police is a slightly different animal, less secure, but it can also be just something that's around. So I think we should probably set about God, I hate to say it, a task force or something to really focus on this. Because I think one of the challenges is we get it, we talk about it for now, we talk about it when we're budgeting, and then we all go out to run the city, and then 6 months later, a year later, we come back and we talk about the same damn thing. And so I think it's one of those things where we need to kind of just take the bull by the horns and say, okay, we'll work with the fire department because I think there might be ways to do that, but we really need to focus on this police department thing, and we need to focus on it in now. And honestly come up with some low-cost ways to fix it. Because I just don't see us raising 10, 20 million. I'm sorry, I would love to spend $20 million. But I just don't think that is realistic right now. Unless all of a sudden there's a lot of revenue coming in all of a sudden. Because we still have a bunch of other hungry mouths over there to feed too. Anyway.
So this feasibility study that is laying out the square footage. So for the police department only, it says 31,169 square feet. Do you really need 31,000 square feet for the police department?
When that study was conducted, it was the wish list study.
Gotcha.
So it could definitely be scaled. We still want to make it, we want it to be able to last longer than what, 50-year building essentially. So that's, but yeah, it doesn't, 31,000. Be really cool. I'd put a pool in it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'd all be over there.
But I think it can definitely.
But Dennis wants is another pool.
Yeah.
I mean, because let's face it, we have a building that if the fire, once again, if we have a building, the fire department could be moved out of that building, and they have addition by subtraction, so you get that. It's still too small.
There's, and this is something that I've thought about, there's opportunities with our current facility, especially since we own the lot next door.
That's it.
To build on, if you're looking at the building to the right into that lot, and then remodel that fire bay into something more useful for police purposes. It could be done, I think, at a fraction of the cost that was originally projected by the consultants.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I've been mulling over on this, and being in the construction business and stuff. Having the lot next door is definitely, great. I mean, you've got a footprint of 7,000 square feet already. So I haven't gone over to the other lot to see what the footprint of that is, how many square feet that would be, but we can always go up. And then honestly take a look at even going up on the existing building. I mean, if you went up just on the existing building and its standard footprint, now you've got 14,000 square feet. So that's a pretty good start. And then if you can add another building next to it that goes up, and you add another, 10,000 square feet to that, you guys are more than big enough for the next 50 years. Yeah. So the big question on that would be cost. I don't think we're talking $20 million.
But we still need to find out where that money's coming from.
Right, we still
Yeah,
have to figure out where the money's coming from, but at least at that point, I mean, we could take a look at what the debt service on that would be. Because I do know that USDA does do loans for, first responder, police departments, sheriff's departments, fire departments, that kind of stuff. And usually with the USDA, they come in with a pretty reasonable rate for those agencies. So taking a look at built the sheriff. Yeah, right. So taking a look at something like that and seeing what our debt service on that would be, would probably be advantageous for us to do, especially if we do it in sections. What is feasible? Obviously, we'd have to talk to planning and engineering and all that. Can we go up on this current building? Is it sound enough to do that? What would the engineering be for that? Or would it be better off redoing the bay, adding to it, and then building a new building on the other lot, starting there? So, and then just figuring out cost and whatnot from there. But I think that's definitely something we should be looking at. Carol's raising her hand too.
Oh. I was just gonna say, that we shouldn't completely get rid of the idea of possibly purchasing an existing building and doing an annex type scenario also, which would be honestly probably the most cost-effective way to do all of this. And so that should be part of this conversation, is looking for existing vacant properties in the city and doing some kind of an annex scenario that would relieve the stress on the existing police station.
Yeah, I mean, if we could find an existing building, I think that's, see if that's an option, and see the expansion option, and I mean, we're gonna have to try to still figure out a way to fund it. I think we're kind of at a premature to talk about. I mean, I think you'd be talking about 2028 is the earliest election. You'd try to put a sales tax measure on at this point, so.
I like the idea of the task force though, because, this study's like 5 years ago, they looked at all the commercial buildings in town. It's all changed.
Yeah.
What's available now? What are the opportunities now? We can look at our changing, obviously, we don't need admin for the fire, so we're downsizing what we actually need. We're, I think, talking about 2 separate facilities, being open to those possibilities and opportunities. But yeah, getting a group who's gonna more aggressively look at that, all in favor of that, I think, because we can't really make any decisions till we have some more information.
I would suggest, because a couple people in this room have heard me now expound. I'm sorry. Have heard me go on about Old City Hall and that process, which I think has gone on entirely too long and is far too complicated and crazy. And I always assume that people went into these things with the best of intentions, and then things just kind of, they get their own life to them. And the thing I think we could do with this, at some point you have to have professionals come in and say, yeah, this is this and that's that, and this is how you build all those words. But I think there's if we get the right people engaged on a fairly simple task or set of tasks in the task force or whatever we want to call it, we can we can aggregate a lot of information. Like, if we go to the old fire station or the old police department and we say, okay, and we have some people there, I don't know who they are, but there's some people, and say, okay, these are some thoughts, what do you think? And say, well, the easiest thing to do would be, like, if you had a really good engineer, and they would come in and they'd say, well, the easiest thing to do is this. You might go up, but really you're just way better off doing this. And real back of the envelope stuff, and come up with some concepts and come up with some back of the envelope stuff. It's not perfect, but at least then it gets you in a ballpark that you can start having a conversation. Then you can start talking about where you're gonna get the money, how much it's gonna cost. And then, okay, now we need details. We need details on grants, because you can't go in with a back of an envelope and say, give me $10 million. You'd have to do that. And I think if we structure it well, we can do it fairly quickly, because it's one thing, when we were talking about Old City Hall, it's like, if you come back to the public and say, this thing's gonna take 10 years, no one's gonna support it. You'll just have an awful time trying to get people to support it. But if you come back and say, if we hit our marks and say our lines and get enough information together, we can pull this all off in 2 or 3 years, that's something that you can get the public to get interested in. Otherwise, it just becomes another thing. Well, it becomes that 5 years old. Haven't hardly moved an inch on. Well, we got $1 million. That's pretty good. Anyway,
Staff want to add comments
sure.
here?
Right.
Maintaining whatever building that we, yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. Tony, any public comments you want to add?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? The sales tax collected projection. It would be 2.3 million. So that would be, if you did a 0.5% sales tax, that would cover it. Yeah, and then some. It would be about $3 million savings, or excuse me, $300,000 savings. Yeah. Yeah. Mayor, if I may, one other aspect of the sales tax, if we were to do something like that, is we're dealing with a structural deficit in our general fund, and perhaps pairing a measure, and I'm just throwing this out, rough shot, is perhaps at some point the council consider a sales tax that would also fund debt service for a new facility, but also address ongoing operations. And maybe focus it just on public safety or similar services. So it's something to.
We can get the people to vote for it. That'll be
We might have a test case in November, so we'll see.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out because that's another issue. I know it's not on our agenda, but I just thought I'd mention it. So we have, about 2 years. It gives us time to do an education campaign. I know we can't campaign for it, but it's something that if we had a group of individuals that were interested in carrying it, we could provide information to them. So.
Any further discussion here?
Can I make one other suggestion? I heard there's a desire perhaps for a task force or an ad hoc committee Would you like staff to bring a staff report on that to provide options to the council to consider, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it could help organize.
Yeah, I think we should probably have it as a future agenda item and talk about it and have some choices
Okay.
of what that looks like.
I'll work with Chief Friend and we'll bring something forward.
Prepared to provide direction right now, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like you said, we have to do something, and this has just kind of been spinning in the mud for, like you said, for 5 years now, and so it'd be nice to get some traction, and I think maybe that's an avenue to make that happen. So yeah, I think I would agree with it. Bring it back for a future discussion.
Sure.
Like if you got Station 25,
You got the fire department now. Oh, okay. Right, okay.
Can I ask one other question? So this ad hoc committee, would it be a mix of staff and council, or just council members or other community members? What do you envision there?
yeah, I think that's what we need to talk about, and I don't think any of us are like prepared to make that direction.
And it's not on the agenda, so.
Yeah.
Just general direction is what I was looking for. And we don't have to make that, you don't have to make that decision tonight, but.
I mean, I think those would all be choices, right? So one choice would be just a 2 council member, one would be a work with staff, and one would be some type of committee that involves members of the public.
Okay.
Like those would be those are the 3 that I can think of off the top of my head of what that would look like.
I guess I'm wondering too. Well, yeah, I have to think about it for a little bit, because I'm thinking like, who would I want in the community? Who would I want?
Yeah.
Who would I want on that committee? Because you have to have people that have,
Like a Mickey Kaiserman or something.
somebody like that, but you'd also need, somebody you might have somebody that represented the trades, or, the building thing, because invariably even if you, let's say you find a building in town, you go, yeah, that building can work. You talk about renovations and
Yeah.
stuff, so you need to have somebody with at least remotely, and then with all that, you have to have somebody from law enforcement, because they're gonna tell you what's what in terms of that.
Great, appreciate the feedback. We'll bring a report forward.
All right, anybody else want to say anything else before I adjourn this?
That's all we have.
All right, we are going to adjourn the meeting at 5:48 p.m.